Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Version 1, a podcast where interesting people come to talk about their creative process, imposter syndrome, inspiration, failures along the way, and much more. I'm your host, Waverly, and you can follow the show on Instagram at Version 1 Podcast and subscribe to our Substack, version1podcast.substack.com. You can also find me on buymeacoffee.com/Waverly Colville if you want to support the show. You can listen to this episode wherever you get your podcasts or head over to YouTube to watch the video version. Remember to leave us a nice review and rate us 5 stars. All right, let's get into the episode. All right, everybody, I am here with my guest this week, Rose Bakewell. She is the founder of Mrs. Bakewell's and the author of the Lottie books. Rose, welcome to the show.
Hi, Beverly. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited you are here and we get to dive into all the cool, fun, creative work you do. Can we start off with just having you introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Yes, my name is Rose Bakewell, and I'm the founder of Mrs. Bakewell's, the cream tea company.
Awesome. And what are the Lottie books?
The Lottie books are my children's picture books that I created. I have, let's see, three out right now. So Lottie and the Tea Party, Lottie and the Baby, and Lottie and the Christmas Wreath. Each book has a recipe card on the back, and the method of how you bake each recipe is weaved into the story. So you have to actually read the story in order to learn how to make the recipe.
That's so cool. It's very interactive. I love that. That's awesome. When you were a child, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I'm going to be completely honest, even though it's a little embarrassing. So, for a brief moment, very brief moment, I wanted to be a teacher, mostly because I love the idea of drawing on the chalkboard.
Huh?
Uh, I also went through like a fashion designer phase, but that was again like very brief. But the one thing I wanted to be consistently was a mother. I always wanted to be a mom, and like I wanted a baby to care for and love.
I love that. That's not embarrassing at all. I love that. And now you're a mom of three, right? So it came true. And it sounds like I think being a teacher also speaks to like your nurturing nature. Like you wanted to always take care of kids. So that's really cool that and it feels like you are having sort of or incorporating like teaching elements into your work as well by like teaching people about scones and British culture and then also like kids through your book. So it sounds like you kind of like weaved all of sort of like those similar traits of what you wanted to be to what you're doing now in a way.
I never thought of it that way.
Awesome. What drew you to baking? Like, did you always love to bake when you were a kid, or was that a passion you discovered later?
Well, I'm Korean, and now a lot of Koreans bake, and there are a lot of baked goods in Korea, but it's not I mean, like, we don't really have desserts. Like, we have rice cakes, right? So nobody in my family baked. I'm actually the first baker, and everything was self-taught. My two eldest like my older ones had food allergies when they were little. They were allergic to eggs and milk. So I really didn't want them to miss out on like birthday cakes and desserts. And so I came up with a lot of vegan cake recipes so that they
Cool.
miss out. And
Yeah.
so that's how it really started. And then I started experimenting from there.
Gotcha. And so you ended up going into scones specifically because of your love of British history. I was reading on your website and I got to try some of them and they are absolutely delicious. So I encourage everyone listening to go order some because they are so good. I like it's so hard to put into words with but the box comes with, the set of scones and then some clotted cream and some tea and when I was making it in my house, I had the cranberry orange ones, or right that, and I just felt so like fancy, and it was like such a like cool experience. So yeah, I encourage everyone listening to go to your website, which will be linked in the show notes, and try some for themselves. But so it's really cool what you're doing and what you built. Where did your love for British history and culture start?
That's always been mystery. I can never answer that question, because I have no idea. Like, maybe I was English in the past, I don't know, right? But it was, um, I grew up in Lorton, Virginia, and it's a little bit more developed. It's different now, but it's just so beautiful, and, I grew up on 38 acres of land. So
Wow.
there were a lot of vegetable garden like, a lot of gardens and, lots of fruit trees, and we had lots of animals, and I think maybe that also has something to do with it because it kind of reminds you of like the English countryside. So it may have stemmed from there. I'm not sure, but I love history overall. Like I love all history, but British history is one of my favorites.
That's awesome. And so as you were baking, these vegan pastries for your kids, when did you like move into scones and the British part of, I guess, your baking career?
So my neighbor at the time, and she's still my neighbor because even when we moved, we actually built our houses like very close to each other.
Oh.
She's English. She moved from Devon, and it's just I was like, I'm gonna make scones for you, and this was a long time ago. I think it was like, oh gosh, maybe like 15 years ago. And I made her these scones, and they were savory scones. And American scones are triangular. That they're very different from English scones. And so she was like, I love it. She ate them all, but she was like, but I'm gonna tell you these are not English scones. I was like, okay, what are English scones? And so she explained to me that they're round, they're plain, and they're meant to be eaten with jam and clotted cream. And so I started baking English scones to give to her. And then I started developing, like, I looked it up online, like what an English scone looks like. And then I started creating my own recipe, like experimenting. And then for the book, of course, Lottie and the Tea Party, my scone recipe is actually in Lottie and the Tea Party. And I wanted it to be fail proof, like nobody because the children are baking these baked goods, and I didn't want it to fail, and them to feel bad about themselves. And so I made sure that it's really simple, very, very easy to make. And yeah, so like just trying to perfect the recipe for the book was, oh my goodness, I must have made like 40 different batches just to try to,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like it takes a lot of like experimentation and creativity and to develop that. Diving into your creative process in terms of like developing those recipes and coming up with the books and stuff like that, could you walk me through, I guess, what are like the qualities as someone who's I've never baked a scone before. So what are the qualities and what was like sort of the creative process behind developing the perfect scone?
So I don't know if I'd even call it a formal process, but everything starts with an idea and then pen and paper. Like I'm really big on pen and paper. I have stacks and stacks of notebooks filled with like ideas and sketches and designs. So that's where everything begins for me. And so the books I wanted a physical recipe card. Um, so I made like a little pocket in the back to put the recipe card in, and weaved again the method within like throughout the story. So it's not just all right there because I feel like that's kind of boring. Like you have to make people work for it, right?
Yeah, like take them through the journey of the book. Yeah.
And it's almost like you're baking with the character in the book.
Oh,
Um,
that's so cool.
yeah, and the scones, like I wanted them to be aesthetically pleasing, but I also didn't want them to, like I also wanted it to taste good, like the texture and the flavor, and be as close as possible to an English scone. Because actually the only English scones that I've ever had were store-bought in England, and
Mhm.
they're great, but they're really sweet, and being Asian or just Korean, I don't really like really, really sweet things. because it just it's sickly sweet and it makes you feel a little bit ill. Um, so I scaled back on, a lot of the sugar. Like when I was experimenting, I didn't put much in and um yeah, like just finding that balance and also structurally like they cannot crush in the box. Like I have to make sure,
Yeah.
because we have glass jars rolling around in there. Like I didn't want them to get damaged during transit. So yeah, I mean it's just a lot of trial and error.
Yeah, for sure. So as you were baking scones for your British neighbor, and she was kind of like telling you, okay, like this is how the British do it or whatever. When did it click for you that like, oh, this could be more than just like a hobby or something that I cook for my neighbor or my kids. Like this could be a business.
Ooh. That didn't come until years afterwards. I so clotted cream wasn't readily available in stores at the time, and a lot of people still struggle to find clotted cream in stores. So I used to make my own clotted cream at home, and make jam. I used to combine strawberries, blueberries, like apples, my children's favorite fruits, and make jam and of course the scones, and I'd give them to people in little gift baskets,
Oh,
as like a
I
gift
love
for
that.
birthday, whatever it is. I would, like Cub Scout leaders and teachers, and I didn't think much of it until a friend of mine. She's like a sister to me. She passed away. Sadly, she was like, you should really sell these. And I was like, they're not good enough to sell, but thank you. Like I was never good at like accepting like kind words and compliments. And so I I was like, that's not no, like that's not gonna work. And also scones, they're meant to be eaten the same day that they're baked. I didn't know that you could really like revive them in the oven or in the toaster because that's what they always say. English scones are meant to be eaten the same day. But she took them to her partner in Philadelphia, and they loved it, and they were like, "No, it's actually the same, like the same texture." And so that's when I started to just say, "Okay, well, let's think of ideas. Like, how am I going to do this?" And yeah, so that was how it all began.
Gotcha. Well, I'm very sorry for the loss of your friend. But it's awesome that she encouraged you to take the extra step and turn this into a business and look where it's grown to today. So that's incredible. So shout out to your friend. But so what were the first initial steps in terms of like taking this from something you were just doing casually to a business? Like what did those very early days look like for you?
Again, lots and lots of notepads. Lots of drawings of, like, chicken scratch just everywhere, and I started with the logo. I hired a designer, Victoria. Oh, she's the best, my web designer. She's the most incredible person. She's in Canada, and we worked very closely together. And I'm very particular, very meticulous when it comes to like the design and packaging. So logo, branding, like the colors, and then the packaging, of course, like how I was going to package everything because you opened up the cream tea box and everything is sort of it's like a puzzle. Everything, fits in there like a puzzle because and I would do drop tests, right? Because we have two jars, like glass jars in the box. So I would throw them around, kind of like how UPS, they're notorious for just tossing. I love you, UPS. I'm very loyal to UPS. I'm not like them, I promise. Um, but it's, they're rushing and things like that. And it yeah, like I would have my children like throw it and stomp on it and again, like it took a couple of tries to, make sure that everything was safe and like secure inside of the box. So, yeah, logo, branding, packaging, and then of course photos and then website.
Gotcha. Could you talk to me about how you came up with the branding? Like, what was the thoughts behind it, or what sort of like thoughts or feelings or emotions did you want to provoke, and how did you like choose the colors and the fonts and things like that?
Yeah, I love green, like a sage green, like it's one of my favorite colors.
And that's
It's
the color of the lunchbox for
yeah,
listeners who haven't seen.
it is. And I wanted to evoke this feeling of nostalgia and just everything to be very classic, very simple, elegant, and I so I found this print. It's like a floral print. So we have two prints. We have the green gingham. That's like the original classic Bakewell's box. And then we have the packaging on the inside where the scones are enclosed. They're like little, it's like a pink floral design. And that I got off of, I was looking up floral designs and I found like a bed sheet that has this floral design. And
Oh,
I
that's
was like,
awesome.
asked my designer, I was like, "Can you do something similar to this?" And so she based it off of that bed sheet and or it was like a comforter or something. And yeah, so I worked very closely with my designer to come up with something that was never going to really like something timeless. So I told her I want something very classic, timeless. And if that's why I don't change my packaging, like the design, because I want it to be very recognizable for many, many years.
Yeah, for sure. And in those days, were you baking everything out of like your house, like your own personal kitchen?
No, so I actually don't operate under a cottage food law because it's very restrictive. Like the rules, you can only sell at farmers markets, you can't sell nationwide. So I actually have a commercial kitchen in Rockville where
Oh, cool.
where I have licenses there and I can ship nationwide.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's really cool. During those early days, did you ever have sort of a mistake or a challenge or a setback that ended up teaching you an important lesson that you use to this day?
Yeah, I don't really view anything as a like a failure or a challenge. Like, because if you learn from it, it's a lesson, right? And you move on. And so, um, not necessarily with Bakewells, knock on wood, but right before Bakewells, I was actually trying to market these stuffed dinner rolls. I used to make dinner rolls for my children, and one day I just started experimenting with different fillings, like pepperoni and like pizza like fillings and steak and cheese and like just different things. And Whole Foods actually loved the idea and wanted to carry them, but I couldn't find a co-packer or proper packaging or even, create a logo. Like every path felt like a dead end. And so one day my friend Kiki, who passed away, she yeah, she was like my biggest cheerleader and she asked me what I wanted. She was like, just sit down and think about what you want and let it come to you. And so I sat there in my office and I was like, what do I want? And I realized one of my long-term goals was to create a line of English baked goods. And I thought, why am I not working on that now? Why am I saying, okay, I'm going to do that eventually? Like, what am I waiting for? So, um, yeah, so then I started with scones and decided to go from there. But that was like one of the biggest challenges, like hurdles. Like I didn't know how to get there. Um, and so I pivot to scones and then everything sort of fell into place. And I'm a true believer, like if it's meant for you, it's going to be a lot easier. Because those like the stuffed roll idea was not for me, clearly, because nothing
Yeah.
panning out. So
Uh-huh.
Yeah, as soon as I switched to doing this, everything worked out.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it definitely sounds like it was meant to be. And that's cool that like, you were pursuing something that was different, but sort of like in line with what ended up becoming Mrs. Bakewell. So like, were you able to kind of transfer like that work you had done with like those stuffed dinner rolls to scones? Like I'm sure you had to change a lot, but like you probably learned a lot through the dinner rolls experience that you could apply to
Yeah, well, I
Bakewells.
completely it was like a clean slate. And I was
Oh.
like, "I'm starting fresh, like, this is not a good idea. It's not working out for me, it's not meant to be." So, yeah, it was a completely clean slate.
How long ago did you start Mrs. Bakewell's? How old is the company?
So I launched September 27th of 2022.
Oh,
So it's
wow. Okay, so it's very young still. It's only 3 years, under
mhm,
3 years old.
3 years.
Wow. That's incredible that you've seen so much like growth over the last 3 years. Talk to me about sort of like, or we talked about, where you started. Like, what is Mrs. Bakewell's doing now? How has it grown in the last couple of years?
Oh my goodness, well, people have been so kind, and all the features that I get, like features in articles, magazines, or even on TV, like people actually just want to help. They just genuinely want to help spread the word and raise awareness about my company. And so I recently signed with Goldbelly um, last year and end of last year, just before the holidays. And so that's where I'm at right now. And of course, I have things in the pipeline, but I have to be discreet about it. No. Um, but yeah, it's evolved with definitely because my career journey is intertwined with my personal journey. So where I'm at in my business is kind of, I guess it kind of reflects where I am in my personal journey as well.
Yeah. If you don't mind sharing, like, what do you mean by your personal journey?
Um, well, I've been through there hmm
Yes.
evolved alongside my like own growth and the different seasons of my life. There's a lot that's happened. My friend passing away is one of them. She was like a sister to me. I met her when I was one. She was 5 years old. So
Wow.
we grew up together, and um yeah, just grieving somebody, and just again, she was like my biggest champion. So that was really tough. And seeking independence, I wanted to be independent. I wanted to be financially independent. I wanted to leave a legacy behind for my children, and become somebody, because my identity was just mom for the longest time. My eldest is going to be 16 very soon.
Oh,
And
that's exciting.
yeah, and then I have a 13-year-old and a 6-year-old. So I was just mom and a stay-at-home mom for a very long time. And I yeah, like I want to say I can be ambitious at times. It comes and goes, but I wanted to be someone for my children.
Oh, that's beautiful. Beautifully said. Thank you for sharing. Nowadays, like, do you have a team behind you that works with you, or are you still baking every day? Or, yeah, talk to me a bit about that.
Yeah, I do have a small team, my small army. They're small but fierce and mighty, and they're really hard workers. But I actually do majority. I was a one-woman show for a very long time. So for 2.5 years into my business, I was a one-woman show. And so I did all of the baking, all the, packaging, customer service, reaching out to like networking and reaching out to people to get them to try the scones and things like that. So again, and like design, packaging, all of those things too. So yeah, now I have a good team, but, um, that'll grow too.
That sounds like a lot to do on your own, in addition to like all your personal commitments and like being a mom. Like, so I'm very glad you have some help now. Do you still bake all the scones yourself, or do other people do that?
No, I actually bake them all myself.
Wow, that's incredible. How many scones do you bake a day? Because that has to be so many.
And I mean, it varies. Holiday seasons are really busy. I don't have a set number, but I do bake many, many batches a day. Um, and yeah, it's just it is a lot of work. I mean, my day to day is very hectic and very busy.
Yeah. What does a day in your life look like?
Oh goodness. So I have three children in all um, different schools. So high school, middle school, elementary school, and
Wow.
start at different times. Um, so my day starts early, making breakfast, packing lunches, getting everyone out the door. Then it's work, like administrative tasks, fulfilling orders, baking, and before you know it, it's time for school runs, and I have to go pick up the children, and do afternoons, like after school snacks, and if they have activities, because my son plays football, my daughter plays guitar, and making dinner, and then it starts all over again the next day.
Wow. Sounds like your days are quite filled. For sure. I read online that you were able to go on the Great American Baking Show. Tell me
Oh,
about that experience.
I actually wasn't able to compete because I had to come back. I had an emergency and I had to come back to the States. But I did get onto the show. It was an arduous process, and there were lots of interviews, auditions, like taste testings and camera tests, and interview with a psychologist, and like there was just so it was a very long process, and they gave us a month to create all these recipes for very specific bakes. Like if they're like, we want you to make two different flavors of eclairs, or like a cannoli, or they would give us a task, and we would have to just come up with our own flavors. And a whole month of that, got on the plane to go to England because it's in the same tent. Paul Hollywood was the judge, and I was really excited, but the day before filming, I had to drop out and come back to the States. And, they were like, you can come back the next season. Like, you don't have to go through the whole process again, just come back. But then I was pregnant with my third, so I so I didn't go back. I couldn't go back. And now I can't really compete because I am no longer quote unquote an amateur because I have a business.
Gotcha. Oh no, I'm sorry to hear that it didn't end up working out, but that's okay. Like you were saying in the beginning, what's meant for you is meant for you. So maybe it just wasn't meant to be, but it sounds like still an amazing accomplishment to even be chosen and to make it through that rigorous process. So that's like a congratulations in and of itself because it's not easy to go through all of that. Um, how do you use creativity on a day-to-day basis?
Oh my. I don't know if I think creativity is deeply individual, and it comes from within, shaped by our past and our experiences. So like no two people's creativity will like ever be the same. It's almost like a fingerprint, right? Um, these days I don't have much time or capacity for creativity because of my children.
Totally understandable.
Just gonna blame everything on them. Yeah, like it's a little bit hectic right now. So I'm just kind of going through the motions and fulfilling orders, and Goldbelly has been keeping me busy too. So yeah, I can't say that I've really been creative as of late.
Totally, no worries. But I think even within like not like sort of like what people think of creativity in like a traditional sense, but like I'm sure you're very like creative in terms of like problem solving or figuring out like jigsaw puzzling your life. If like this kid has that commitment, but you also have like commitments for Mrs. Bakewell's, or you're also writing your children's book, like even just like kind of jigsaw puzzling those pieces together, I think takes a lot of creative problem solving in your day to day. But we don't think of it traditionally as like creativity. You know what I mean?
Right, right. No, I agree. And so instead of because it takes a lot of mental strength and power, I actually don't what I've been doing lately is asking for help.
I love
Be
that.
I had a really difficult time asking for help, and I would do everything myself, and there were many times that I completely burnt out, and I couldn't move. I couldn't get up. I would be, like, on the floor convulsing. I mean, it took a while for me to I had to go convalesce at my parents' house for 6 months, to try to for my, mom to help my parents rather both helped me regain my strength. Um, and the kids missed home, of course, so like we had to go back and forth, but I needed help. And
Really.
now I'm better at asking for help because I know like um if I don't take care of myself, I can't take care of my children and I can't take care of my customers. I can't take care of anybody. So I had to, yeah. So asking for help rather than trying to figure everything out by myself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really tough to do. That's something that I've struggled with as well because I think I can do everything myself and
Mhm.
sometimes it's hard to let go of that. But it's kind of like how they say when you're on an airplane like put your oxygen mask on
Yeah,
first before assisting others. It's kind of like the same sort of philosophy.
yeah.
That's a fantastic sort of lesson that so thank you so much for sharing. When you do get overwhelmed or yeah, just struggling in life, what are some self-care things that you do to take care of yourself?
Um, so I that's another like that's something I think you can also relate. Like it's we don't do much self-care, right? Like that's how we burn out. We take on too much and we think we can do it all. So I don't do much self-care. I think maybe one of the things I do is talk to my friends, my people, my village. They really help to encourage and empower and boost me up. I mean, and we do it for each other, but they have been a huge source of relief, and we share our burden. Like we talk about it and we vent, and that's so helpful. Like the social aspect. So again, that's something I never did. Like only people I spoke to were my kids. So, like, I was a stay-at-home mom, and, like, it was all about the kids, and I never spoke to people, I never went out, I, like, lived under a rock, um, but I've been learning over the past few years through Bakewells that talking to people, socializing is really important, and, it's absolutely vital, for your mental health.
Yeah, absolutely. Having a community around you is so important. Do you ever experience imposter syndrome or feelings of self-doubt?
Oh, always. Like, it's always a struggle. So for a long time, I had a very, hard time accepting compliments, and if someone said something kind, I would immediately deflect and, brush it off. But I recently learned to accept compliments as the gift they are, because it doesn't feel great when someone rejects your gift, right? And, like, a compliment is like giving somebody a gift, and a close friend of mine, Sophia Chang, she's more like a sister, but she's really taught me this. When she introduces me to a lot of people. I meet a lot of people through Sophia, and whenever she introduces me, she'll say, "This is Rose Bakewell, the best baker in America."
I love that.
just
I
poured
love that.
much love, into me, and I used to shy away from it, and one day she said, "Honey, just accept it. When someone gives you a compliment, just say thank you. That doesn't make you arrogant, it doesn't make you conceited, it makes you gracious." And, I hear her do this with others too, encouraging people to accept kindness. And the shift is incredible because, we're on the phone a lot and she's at the gym or wherever, and she'll just pull random people aside, strangers, and be like, "I just wanted to say, I think you're gorgeous, or I think you're beautiful, or, oh, this is the best trainer in this gym." And I would hear people be like, "No, no, no, like that, no, thank you, but that's not true." And so I would hear her like giving them talks, like again, just like she did with me, just say thank you. And the next time I would hear her saying something, those people, I would hear them like through the phone, I would hear them saying thank you. So she's making such a big difference in people's lives. And she's big on empowering women and encouraging and all of that. So yeah, so that's something that
Wow, that's incredible. Your friend sounds like she has just such a glow. I mean, I've never met her, but just like hearing you talk about her, I'm just like, wow, like she sounds like she's glowing. That's like the word that comes to mind. So that's incredible that you have such a supportive person in your corner. That's wonderful. I want to talk more about the Lottie books because you mentioned you have three out at the top of the episode. But it's so cool that they take you on a journey of like how to make the recipe, and it sounds like in a very fun way, and it gets kids involved and stuff like that. So that's awesome. Could you talk to me about originally your decision to write children's books? Where did that idea come from?
Well, it started from my daughter. I used to bake a lot with my children when they were little. Now they don't really want to bake, but they, like if I force them to, if I like pull them into the kitchen, like they will. But when they were little, oh, it was so cute. Like I just, prop them up on the counter, like get a stool, and they'd stand there and bake. And I really wanted to capture those moments. I didn't want it to end. Like I knew they were gonna grow up and leave me one day. I wanted to, capture those moments and put it into a book, into like a picture book, because I also loved growing up. I always tried to escape into picture books. Um, and I wanted to be like I wanted to go inside and live inside of the picture books. Like I don't know if you've
I
ever
love
had
that.
that feeling, but like that comfy, cozy feeling, and like you want to be part of that happy family, and everything is so idyllic in picture books. And so I wanted to also have the recipe, like the recipes are a big part of it, and for my grandchildren to be able to have them instead of just having like a box of recipes, like having them in the books, and to, for them to be able to visualize and imagine. And so the characters are all based off of my family members, my
Oh,
my three children. And so I give my illustrator photos of my children and say, "Can you just base the characters off of this, like, and make it like this?" And um, so yeah, that's how it all kind of started.
I love that. That's so sweet. And that kind of just touches on my next question I had was about sort of like your creative process in terms of writing the book and developing the art for it. It sounds like, yeah, you worked with an illustrator, which is super cool. But how long did these books take to write? And did you have like a writing sort of like routine where you wrote at the same time every day? Or talk to me about the actual like process of helping these books come to life.
Well, the first one, the tea party one, I used to have a lot of tea parties at home. I used to have people over for afternoon tea, like friends, and my daughter's birthday parties sometimes were tea parties.
I
And
love that.
yeah, so it started really from um it was more of a lifestyle for us. It wasn't like an event. It was just something that we always did and incorporated into our life, having tea. Um, and like after school, like the children, I'd always want to hear about their day, what they did, and have afternoon, tea and just kind of talk about what's going on at school. And so, it, you know, putting that onto paper, almost like a diary. um, I think the Tea Party one started with like, it was a really short, I don't remember if it was a poem or like, it was a really short book, like a short story. And then I was like, you know what, I want to bring it to life, which is why I got the illustrator and, I hired my illustrator and I wanted it to be as realistic as possible to our home life. So again, lots and lots of notepads and pen, like doodling and sketching out the pocket and how I want the recipe card to be and um, writing. I wrote a lot when I was convalescing at my parents' house for the Tea Party one, and I would read it out loud to my children. I would read to my kids regardless, like at night, and I wanted to write something that I wanted to read because I love books, but some of the books out there, we didn't understand what the purpose of it was. Like my children would be like, "What was that book about?" And like there was no like moral or no like I don't know. Like I mean, so I just writing something that I wanted to read to my kids to teach them like a lesson or teach them something. Like I wanted there to be a moral to the story.
Yeah.
Um, so it was just like writing and rewriting and like every single word. And just reading it out loud to my children, like that was a big thing. And they would be like, I don't like that word. And like I would go and change it. So they were a big part of the process of writing these books because I would always ask them and like their opinion. So they had a big say in a lot of in a lot of these books.
Sounds like they were your editors.
Yes.
What are the moral of the stories in your books?
So the Tea Party one is the moral there or the life lesson is about standing up for yourself. It also teaches etiquette, like tea etiquette, how to have afternoon tea, but it's about standing up for yourself. The second book, the baby book, is about it's more about anxiety and mental health. Like if don't fret over the things that you can't control. Right, and try to put it try to be more productive or something. Definitely sit in your emotions. You have to feel, and, you can't just override it and, like, ignore it because then it's gonna resurface in other ways. But if you can't control, if it's out of your control, to do something productive. Um, and then the third one is about mistakes. Lottie and the Christmas Wreath, where everybody makes mistakes, but don't be afraid. Don't try to fix it yourself or like hide it. You can it's a safe space. You can always ask for help. And yeah, so that's there's like a lesson in all of them.
Love that. And those are some lessons that I still need to be reminded of sometimes.
Yeah.
So I absolutely love that. Are there more Lottie books in the works?
So I have 13, a baker's dozen. I chose to stop at 13, but I've gotten so busy with Bakewells that I haven't been able to really work on the books. I have drafts of all of them, so all 13 of them. So
Wow.
yeah, I have like a farmer's market one, like where you eat the rainbow, like the colors of the rainbow, and like a bully one and Valentine's Day one. Like there are a lot, but I just haven't. Um, gotten to them yet.
Gotcha. I mean, that's incredible because you said three are out, right? So you have 10 in the works. That's a lot. That's awesome though. Well,
Like
I'll be
I'm
excited to find those on the bookshelf or in the bookstores in a couple of years or whenever they come out. My sister is pregnant right now. She's about to have a little girl, and I'm just like, oh, like I'll have to buy her the Lottie book so that way she can like cook scones with my
her
niece.
first child.
It's her first child, yeah.
Oh my
So
god.
I'm gonna put the Lottie books on my shopping list so that way she can read them with
Also,
her daughter and they
this
can have scones together. But yeah, it's her first kid and it's a little girl, so that'll be so fun.
first niece, like your first niece or nephew?
No, I have older half siblings because my dad was married before my mom. So I do have older nieces and nephews. But they're still, my nieces and nephews, but we had different parents, same dad, different moms. But this is like and they're much older, so I didn't grow up in the same house as them. But this is like my sister who is only like a year younger than me and we like grew up together. So like yeah. So it's like a different relationship, But yeah,
This
I'm
is
very
safe, so,
excited.
like, you can go and visit your niece.
Yeah, yeah, I'm so excited. Yeah, she's gonna be so cute.
Yeah.
Um that's awesome though. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna put these books on my shopping list, especially because I feel like it'd be like a perfect like because the baby's due in a couple months, so like a first like Christmas, so and then they could start baking scones together from an early age. So
It'll be my, baby shower gift to your sister.
oh, yeah, so sweet.
Her eyes.
Um, I was wondering because you are such an expert baker, and I have to admit, I am not a good baker. I've tried, and I can make like okay, simple things, but I'm not the greatest baker in the world. So I was wondering if you could give me and the rest of the listeners listening, a simple baking tip. What's your like go-to when someone asks you for advice?
Oh, yes, I would say, weigh your ingredients. Ditch the measuring cups, weigh your ingredients because it's more accurate.
Oh, interesting. That is a great piece of advice because the thing is like so like I learned to cook also very like pretty recently. Like I'm just like not a very like skillful person in the kitchen, but like cooking is like you can kind of eyeball things, you can kind of improv, but baking you can't. Like it's such an exact science.
About
And
precision.
that's my like toxic trait is like I hate measuring things. So when I'm cooking, it's like fine. Like most of the time it turns out like okay, like at least if I just like eyeball things or like kind of like half-ass measure them. Baking is like not like that at all. It is so precise and I didn't know that, so I've like messed up a lot of recipes, but weighing is such a great tip. Thank you. I did not realize how specific baking is because I kind of thought it was just like, oh, it's the same as cooking. It doesn't need to be exactly a
Examines
quarter of a teaspoon.
because even a teaspoon of salt or an extra teaspoon of baking soda, it will ruin it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know that. And I've ruined a lot of things. So thank you for the tip. I'm going to start weighing things. That's wonderful. What is your definition of success?
Um, my definition of success to me, success is being, um, to me, success is being able to remain kind, compassionate, and empathetic. And so even when you're uncomfortable, even when you're having a bad day or facing hardship, it's showing up as a decent human being and not taking your pain out on others. Finding that strength within you, that self-discipline to do that. Um, I know that's a bit of an unconventional answer, but that's that's
I
what I
love
think
that.
success.
No, I absolutely love that. That's so beautifully said, and I think sometimes can be forgotten in this day and age. So I absolutely love that. And I love that your definition doesn't have to do with like, I don't know, like money necessarily. Not that like money's not important or but like it speaks to like your character. And so that's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. What are some of your goals for the future? How do you want Mrs. Bakewell's to grow or change or evolve?
Um, well, I've always had a deep sensitivity around hunger, and I can't bear the thought of anyone being hungry. Like it genuinely hurts my heart. So one of my long-term goals is to help feed the hungry. And how I'm going to do that, I'm not sure. So my friend Kiki, she, the beginning of Bakewells, she was around when I first launched, and I wanted to do that, like give part of the proceeds to a charity or to feed the hungry. And she said to me very wisely, Rose, do you want to feed 1,000 kids now or millions of kids later? And of course I was like, well, I want to feed them now, like they're hungry right now. But she was like, invest, like reinvest back into your company. Like everything you make, put it back into your company, grow it, and then you can feed more children and more people. And like the elder, like oh my gosh, I have a soft spot for like children, babies, and the elderly. Like I don't want them to be hungry. So that's really my goal, is to be able to help in that way.
I love that. You have such a generous soul. Like I could just tell by talking to you. Like that's so beautiful and I love that. And I'm excited to see that happen and watch you grow over the next couple of years. So that's so beautiful. All right, Rose, this has been wonderful. Are you ready to move into the lightning round?
Sure.
Let's do it. All right, what is something new that you've tried lately?
Setting boundaries.
Oh my God, I love that. I love that. Ugh, chef's kiss. I love that. That's something that I definitely had to work on and learn in therapy. But it's so important. And I think it goes back to like kind of what you were saying earlier about learning how to ask for help, learning how to set boundaries, like all of that is like so like intertwined. And so I love that for you.
It's easier as we get older because we're like, it's like we don't care.
Yeah,
Just
and you have like kind of more clarity around and just more life experience about like what you're willing to tolerate and what
mm,
you're not and what your value is. I think that's something that I had to really like grow and explore and develop in my 20s. So yeah. All right, do you have a lesson or a message that you want to share with listeners?
gosh, I don't know if I want to give lessons, but if you have a dream, do it now. Don't wait.
I love that. What is one thing you wish you knew when you were first starting out?
Um, Not everything will turn out the way you imagine, and that's okay. Learn to pivot.
I love that. I was just speaking with someone earlier who said one of their sort of like mottos or whatever is bend, don't break. And I
Yeah.
think that's like exactly what you said. Yeah, like not everything's going to work out perfectly, but you can't let that stop you. You have to just like pivot, figure it out. The road's going to look really windy, but that's okay. I love
Painful.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Rose, this has been fantastic. Could you please tell everybody where they can find you, where they can buy one of your boxes, where they can buy your books, support your work, all of the things.
So people can find us at mrsbakewells.com and on Goldbelly and on Instagram at Mrs. Bakewells.
This has been so fantastic. Thank you so much. Also, we didn't even like talk about this, but it's like such a coincidence that your last name is Bakewell and you're a baker who bakes
Yeah,
very well. So like that's such a
you're
cool last name.
so Bakewell is derived from a little town in Derbyshire, England called Bakewell. There's a town of Bakewell, and it's a very common surname in England. Um, but I never thought about it in like America, how people would perceive it. So when I'm, looking for co-packers and like packaging, like people, they're like, "Oh, Bakewell because you bake well," and I'm like, "No, no, 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 that's not what it is." It's
That's
just
so funny. Like it's kind of it also like kind of goes back to what we were speaking to earlier of like things that are like meant to be. Like you're a baker, you bake very well, and that's your last name. So that's incredible. Like that's such a fun like sort of coincidence because it sounds almost like a fake name that people give their business. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm known as like Mrs. Whoever, whatever. But no, you literally are Mrs. Bakewell. Like that's not made up. So that's incredible. It's meant to be. All right, Rose, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
having me, Waverly. I really appreciate it.